Hello everybody! Now, since I introduced her, many of you have asked me about how I created my co-host Sally.
No, they fucking didn't.
Shut up! Whilst none of you have actually mentioned it, I'm sure all of you have been wondering how I created my co-host Sally.
What do you mean created? I'm 40 years old. It's not like I'm like at a hand puppet being drop. Oh, fuck.
The process of constructing my faithful companion was very fun and something I thought was worth documenting. Also, I've been sitting on this footage for half a year and I'm hopelessly behind on videos, so I'm making this video now in a desperate attempt to catch up with my schedule. I'm sorry.
I need a beer.
Making Sally began, like all things, with me binge-watching all the Muppet movies on Disney Plus as well as the entirety of the 2015 Muppet sitcom. Watching all of these shows and movies and learning about the behind-the-scenes history of Jim Henson from the Defunctland series on him, I really gained an appreciation for the art of puppetry, and how the Muppets really feel like real people, completely separate from the puppeteers who perform them. It's really quite magical.
Sure is. You know, I did want to audition for a role on Sesame Street, but they told me that my previous career made me a poor fit for their brand. I don't know what they're talking about.
Right. Anyway, at around this time, I felt that I could do with a comedic foil for me to bounce off of so my videos are less boring for you to watch. And with that realisation coming right at the same time I was becoming very interested in the Muppets, naturally that meant that I had the idea to combine the two. During my Muppet phase, I had done some sketches of a Muppet-inspired cat character. Over time, I would develop these into Sally the Cat, a grouchy middle-aged secretary. With the basic design down, I got online and spent a load of money on ping-pong balls and faux fur fabric, dug out the leftover cushion foam from my stop-motion project from earlier in the year, and got to work making my own Muppets. The first port of call was cutting up the foam, which necessitated the use of my electric turkey knife. From this foam I constructed the rough shape of Sally's head, gluing the bits together with spray adhesive. The mouth was made from a cardboard teabag box, with the head and lower jaw being joined together with black felt to represent the inside of the mouth. I also added a bit of red felt inside to represent the tongue. I also made a giant donut-shaped thing out of some foam to make Sally's body. It would be weird if she was all just neck. Ugh. I'd just like to take a moment to say that making this puppet would not have been possible without the amazing puppet making tutorials of Adam Krutinger, the Puppet Nerd. His videos are really great for anyone who wants to learn about puppetry, and I heavily referenced his no sewing puppet build video as I was making Sally. Unfortunately, he actually died earlier this year from brain cancer, which is a real tragedy. I hope that in me telling you about him you might also watch his videos and be inspired, allowing his legacy to live on. Thanks, Mr. Puppet Nerd.
Gee, way to let the mood down.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just thought it deserved a mention since his videos really came in handy. Anyway, with the main form of the puppet complete, I could move on to giving it some fur. First, I used some black felt to cover Sally's muzzle. Fabric patterns? I never heard of them. I just awkwardly laid the felt over the foam and cut darts in it to make it wrap around the shape of the muzzle before sticking it down with spray adhesive. The fur I used for this is not anything special, it's just some cheap faux fur fabric I bought off of Amazon. Again, I just glued it down to the foam and cut into it until it fit around it decently. The eyes, like with real Muppets, are ping pong balls. I glued felt to them to make Sally's eyelids and pupils. They don't have quite the finesse of real Muppet eyes, but they get the job done.
Wow, it's so nice to know how much care and love and attention was put into my creation. How flattering, not?
Then I added the fur to the body before connecting it to the head with a big sleeve of the stuff to complete the main form of the puppet. With that, I moved on to making the hands and arms. Following the tutorial I was watching, I used wire to make up an armature before sandwiching that between two pieces of foam I cut into the shape of her hand, which I then furred and added paw pads to with some felt. The idea with the armature was to make her hands posable, but it didn't really work once it was done, unfortunately, as the fingers were just too stiff to be properly articulated with all the padding and glue. The arms were just two tubes of foam with fur wrapped around them, allowing them to bend at the elbows. Having used the puppet in a few videos now, I kinda wish I'd made them a bit longer because in her current state her arms can't really reach that far out and look a bit disproportionate compared with the rest of her. Nonetheless, I proceeded to attach them to the body, finishing the puppets. I'm pretty happy with how Sally turned out. For something I threw together with very little puppet making experience, I think I got a pretty good result. Though I will say that if I made her now, I'd probably put in a bit more care and attention. There's a lot of things I would probably change about the look as well. The way I draw Sally has gotten a bit more consistent now, with bigger eyes and a distinct set of 3 fur tufts on each side of her head, instead of just a vague array of spikes. I'd also definitely do things properly and sew the puppet together instead of haphazardly gluing on all the fur. But hey, it was a learning experience, and I'm sure I'll be able to apply my greater knowledge to various other projects down the line.
You know, all this has made me realize that you don't hold me in very high regard.
That's not true. I might have written you to be an abrasive and combative asshole, but you're still one of the best and most original things I've ever created, and for that I think you're worth a whole lot.
I was the best you could come up with? Gee, that's an impressive lack of imagination for someone who calls themselves an artist.
Take that back, you miserable drunk lowlife! I'm gonna fucking...